One of the more daunting and depressing realities that we're all facing is that merely one Supreme Court justice has the power to turn this country into a complete dictatorship, handed over, directly served on a silver platter to Vladimir Putin. And it could either be Amy Coney Barrett or Chief Justice Roberts. We had a victory for democracy recently where they demanded that the Trump administration pay the billions of dollars that Congress had already appropriated to USAID. MAGA is having a meltdown, a stage 10 meltdown over Amy Coney Barrett. And it is very clear that she hates Donald Trump. We're women. I know you cannot fake this. Watch this clip that's going viral right now of the justice looking at Trump at the State of the Union. Here she is for the listener. I mean, it is a go fuck yourself. And then she can't even look at him after that. And MAGA has noticed this. MAGA is noticing that she is more independent. Now, listen, I'm no fan of the handmaid that was appointed by Donald Trump. And I'm no fan of the Supreme Court. But I'm relieved to know that there is just an ounce, just a tiny little sliver of somebody in there that wants to support democracy. Pumps.
What's so interesting about MAGA, not that they're intellectually lazy and they're not smart and uneducated, but here's the deal. That you learn this in like 5th grade. They used to have a song about it on TV. The Congress makes the laws. They appropriate what funds will be distributed where. Donald Trump has taken that power from the legislative branch and brought it into the executive branch. It's illegal, plain and simple. There's case after case after case that says it. So I'm delighted how she voted in this. But the reality is she is following long established laws. So there's not going to be a parade in her honor over this. But I just want to make the point that you have on the Supreme Court, 4 people are going to vote against democracy every single time. And then you have 3 people that are going to vote to protect democracy every single time. And in that 3 block are women. And Justice Roberts, shockingly enough, after the hot mic moment at the State of the Union, voted with democracy. But again, I go back to give Amy Coney Barrett a little bit of credit that she's voting for democracy with the other 3 women on the court.
I'll give her a tinge of credit, but fuck her for overturning Roe. And
Yes.
I want that in the permanent record because that is where a lot of the slippery slope started.
Mm-hmm.
And fuck her for delaying the January 6th stuff because we would not be here had she and John Roberts shown this type of conviction. This is a Monday morning quarterbacking situation, which could have properly been handled because when the autopsy happens on how we ended up here, us not fixing and taking January 6th through the court system will be the biggest indicator of how we turned over to an autocratic state because Trump broke the law. We all saw it. We knew when people didn't show up. When the military didn't show up, we're all watching it live on TV. We knew the fix was in, that it was ordered by the sitting president of the United States at the time was Donald Trump because he was pissed off that he got his ass beat by Joe Biden and he didn't want to pack his toys up and leave the White House. So he sent a bunch of depraved animals to go take a shit in the Capitol. This is a little micro victory, but all in all, the Supreme Court is the architect of Republican policies, which is Mitch McConnell.
Yep.
Mitch McConnell now has a little bit of buyer's remorse. Mitch McConnell made this Republican Party. He enabled this for decades. A senator from a small populated state like Kentucky has that much power in the world's biggest democracy. This thing is so fragile and so broken. And Amy Coney Barrett and Justice John Roberts had an opportunity to show courage and stand up for democracy and not concentrate power in the executive branch, but they chose to slow play justice, and that will follow them to their graves. And when you're a Supreme Court justice, you have a huge history. It's not like, some of these right-wing Rush Limbaughs. Nobody gives a shit when you die. But if you're a Supreme Court justice, what you do and the votes you make are forever. Okay, next up, MAGA is noticing the effective speaking of Jasmine Crockett. And I want to point out, this is a woman who does not appease. This is a woman who does not capitulate. This is a woman who tells the American public, I see what you're seeing. And it really is happening. I'm not going to gaslight you. I'm not going to play politics as usual. I'm not going to act like this is normal. I'm not going to pretend like, oh, yeah, we'll make it to the midterms and everything's going to be fine. This is a woman who is calling out in real time, fighting for democracy constantly. And the right wing is starting to notice because she's starting to show up in a bunch of tweets. Put this one up, Kylie. So this is what they do to Black women. Here's some right-wing nut. Jasmine Crockett wants you to think she's from the hood, that she grew up on the streets. The exact opposite is true. She attended an exclusive day school where the tuition is nearly $35,000 per year. She also attended Rhodes College, blah, blah. She's cosplaying a gangsta. So not only is this completely racist and sexist, there was another tweet where somebody tried to say that she's faking her accent. And let me just say, this is all they have against her, because that's how effective of a speaker and a leader that she is being right now for the Democrats, where we are begging everyone around America, moderates, Democrats, leftists, and the people who have been dicked over by Donald Trump that were triple Trumpers, they're begging for someone to fight for them. And one of those fighters is Jasmine Crockett. And they say that sometimes she speaks hood and sometimes she doesn't. Well, let me tell you something, you dipshits. Sometimes when I'm sitting around a bunch of people from Texas and Oklahoma, my Southern twang gets even more intense. And sometimes when I'm not around anybody, it dissipates some. So fuck you guys for being so racist and so short-sighted and so ridiculous in your insults. Attack her policies. You can't, because she's calling out the traitor that is the president of the United States. She's calling out the billionaire that is taking billions of dollars from everyday Americans and firing them from their jobs while he blasts rockets that explode into space that we funded. So, I mean, I've had it with this.
Jasmine Crockett is beginning her second term. So this is her third year in Congress, and she is speaking truth. She is based in reality. And I look at these people that have been in Congress forever. For example, Hakeem Jeffrey, you're the leader of the Democrats. You need to be talking like Jasmine Crockett, because she's talking in real terms to real people about real problems. She's not dicking around, hawing. This woman deserves so much respect, and she is so far ahead of the curve in Democratic leadership, in my opinion.
I agree.
That I think she needs to be elevated all the time, everywhere. I say, you go, girl. And just want to thank her for the Marjorie Taylor Greene slam of she's a bad built, bleach blonde butch body, because it was very accurate.
And this is, Pam brings up something. This is something that's happening that the Democrats don't realize. We all are not stupid. We see exactly what's happening. We see that Musk is funded by taxpayers, that he was born in South Africa. Yeah, maybe he got a citizenship wherever, but we're going by what MAGA preaches. Real Americans, deport immigrants, don't let them take our jobs. When you have a guy that wasn't born here, that gets a bunch of government subsidies to the tunes of billions and billions and billions of dollars, that is firing hardworking Americans that work for the government, and you try to demonize them like it's some sort of deep state situation. When politicians like Jasmine Crockett look in the camera and tell you what you're seeing is real and it is really happening, we need that. So don't try to just sit around and we're going to hold up a sign that says Musk is a liar.
I mean, normal.
Come on, you guys. All right. The attack on women continues. Here's Trump. Let's use the chipmunk voice behind the resolute desk, attacking not only women, smart women, but also the First Amendment.
Frankly, what Nicole Wallace said, I've never been a fan of hers, and she's not very talented. But I'll tell you, what she said the other day about that young man is disgraceful. She should be forced to resign. And Rachel Maddow should be forced to resign. Nobody watches her anyway. I don't know if it's not possible they pay her as much money as I hear, but certainly she's lost all credibility, both of them. But what they said the other day, they should be forced to resign.
Imagine ascending to being the president of the United States, and you're sitting behind the resolute desk, and you're mad about two journalists on a cable news network and you're demanding that they get resigned or forced to resign. Not only is that completely against the First Amendment, but I'm talking about the psychological immaturity and lack of emotional development intellectually, psychologically, and emotionally that this man has to have ascended to such a successful position and to be so small, so petty, so childish. This is such pathetic, weak leadership. This is so weak that he's sitting there. Those girls are mean to me on the playground. Wah. I mean, that's what it sounds like.
That's exactly what it sounds like. And here is what he's mad about. Donald Trump at the State of the Union had a 13-year-old cancer survivor, struggler, used as a prop. And I will say that because at the same time he's saying, oh, and I'm happy this kid is healthy or whatever. But he's cutting cancer research for children. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot abdicate for healthy kids with cancer while you're cutting research for them. And they pointed out the irony and the hypocrisy, and he's mad about it because as a fascist authoritarian, everybody is supposed to kiss his ass all the time.
Okay, and here's right what Pumps and I are talking about. In this whole episode, you notice we're talking about women that are standing up. Even the handmaid in the Supreme Court is standing up for democracy and gave him the go fuck yourself side eye. Here is AOC calling out the faux masculinity of these alpha males that sit behind the Resolute desk and say, "Wah, Rachel Maddow was mean to me." All right, here's AOC.
It's really because Republicans they're very thin-skinned and they're very sensitive and their feelings are very easily hurt. And so they have to vote on censure resolutions.
She's 100% correct. Yeah. This is the most thin-skinned display of masculinity you have ever seen in your entire life. Donald Trump is, the fact that you have all these MAGA men, especially like Jesse Waters, who talks about masculinity all the time. You know, real men don't use straws. Real men don't eat ice cream. Meanwhile, Jesse Waters dyes his hair and his eyebrows every chance he can get and supports a man that wears a full face of makeup. Now, I don't give a shit if people dye their hair. I don't give a shit if men wear makeup. But all of these Bible-thumping MAGA conservatives do, yet their party's full of it. And I want to remind everybody, the Vice President of the United States is a failed drag queen. All right, subscribe to our channel. We'll see you all later.